You've probably heard serotonin called the happy chemical, right? This simple little dial in our brain that controls our mood. But what if that's not even close to the whole story? What if serotonin's real job is way, way bigger? What if it's the secret conductor of the very orchestra that makes you, well, you? Let's dive in and see how this hidden conductor is actually shaping our brains.
So, to understand our conductor, we first have to look at the orchestra. And we can start with a really fundamental question. How do you learn anything? I mean, really, how does an experience or a new fact go from just a fleeting moment to a permanent part of who you are?
The answer is it's incredible. Your brain isn't like a computer hard drive, just saving files in neat little folders. Nope. It's a living, breathing network of connections that is physically changing every single second with everything you do. Learning isn't some abstract idea. It's the very real process of rewiring your own brain.
Now, the sciencey term for this constant rewiring is synaptic plasticity. And this is the bedrock, the fundamental mechanism behind all learning and all memory. Every single time you learn something new, it's because these little things called synapses, the tiny gaps where your brain cells talk to each other, are physically getting stronger or weaker.
This whole rewiring process basically follows two simple rules. Rule number one is all about making connections stronger. It's called long-term potentiation, or LTP. Just think of the classic saying, neurons that fire together wire together. The more you use a pathway in your brain, the stronger it gets. And the second rule, well, it's the opposite. It's about weakening connections. That's long-term depression, or LTD. This is your use it or lose it principle. If a connection isn't used, it starts to fade away. Together, these two forces are constantly shaping the landscape of your mind.
But here's where it gets really, really interesting. This constant push and pull, this intricate dance of strengthening and weakening, it's not happening at random. There is a conductor pulling the strings behind the scenes.
I mean, think about it, right? If every single experience you had just strengthened a connection, your brain would be a chaotic mess of noise. We absolutely need a way to decide which experiences are important enough to actually keep. The brain needs a system to highlight what matters.
And this is where our conductor comes onto the stage. If synaptic plasticity is the music that our neurons are playing, then a special class of chemicals called neuromodulators are the conductors. They're not playing the notes themselves, but they're controlling the entire performance, telling the violins to play louder, the drums to soften up, and changing the whole mood of the piece. So unlike a regular neurotransmitter that sends a quick message from just one neuron to the next, a neuromodulator is like a broadcast signal. It kind of washes over huge areas of the brain, influencing thousands or even millions of neurons all at once. It sets the whole tone for an entire brain region. And the most famous of all these conductors is the one we started with, serotonin.
So how does our conductor, serotonin, actually direct this orchestra? It basically has two main moves. The first one is called a plastic effect. It can jump in and directly tell a connection to get stronger or weaker. But its second move, and this is its real superpower, is the metaplastic effect. This is where serotonin doesn't just change one connection, it changes the rules of the game for making connections. It can make it easier to strengthen a pathway or harder to weaken one, basically telling the brain, hey, pay attention. This right here is important. Wire this memory in for good.
To really see this in action, let's zoom in on two key regions in the brain. First up, we're heading to the hippocampus, the command center for creating new memories.
Okay, so this complex-looking circuit you see here is inside the hippocampus. You can think of this area as the brain's head librarian. It's responsible for taking in new information, facts, events, and filing them away as new memories. So how does our conductor, serotonin, decide what gets stored on the shelves?
Now, you might expect it to just strengthen everything, right? More serotonin, better memory, but it's actually way more sophisticated than that. Its role is this fascinating, delicate balancing act. Serotonin can both promote the connections that become memories, and it can also prevent them.
See, serotonin doesn't just send one signal. It uses different receptors. Think of them as different sets of instructions to pull off this balancing act. So, yeah, one of those instructions tells connections to weaken a bit. But look at the others. The more dominant instructions do the exact opposite. They tell new connections to get stronger, and, this is crucial, they change the rules to protect those important new memories from being forgotten. The big takeaway here is that in the memory center, serotonin's main job is to help lock in what really matters. Okay, so that's factual memory. Now let's switch gears and talk about emotional memory. We're heading into the amygdala. This part of the brain is your threat detection system. It's where you learn fear. You know, when you learn to associate something harmless, like a sound, with something negative, it's the amygdala where that powerful, sticky emotional memory gets physically wired into your brain.
We're focusing right here on the part of the amygdala that gets all that sensory input from the world and forges those powerful, lasting memories about things that are scary. And serotonin's role here as the conductor is absolutely critical, and honestly, pretty wild.
The story here is just fascinating, and it unfolds over time. At first, some of serotonin's signals actually seem to weaken the connection, almost like it's telling the brain to quiet down for a second. But then, other signals kick in later to cause this powerful long-term strengthening. And here's the most incredible part. Serotonin can even change the rules so much that it takes a signal that should weaken a connection and flips it into one that strengthens it instead. It's this masterful performance, a brief moment of calm, followed by a powerful command to permanently lock in an emotional memory.
Okay, so we've seen our conductor at work in the memory center and in the emotion hub. Let's pull back. What is the big picture here? What does this all really mean?
Well, first, and this is the most important thing, serotonin is not just a happy chemical. We really have to get past that oversimplification. It's a master regulator. It's a conductor of how our brain physically changes over time. It doesn't just turn our mood up or down. It changes the fundamental rules by which our brain learns from the world. By fine-tuning that balance between making connections stronger or weaker in places like the hippocampus and amygdala, it helps our brain decide which experiences are significant, which moments matter enough to be permanently wired into who we are.
And that leaves us with a really powerful final thought. If we stop thinking of serotonin as just a simple mood dial and start seeing it for what it is, the conductor of learning and memory, the very chemical that shapes how we use our past to prepare for our future, what does that unlock? Could this new understanding completely change how we treat things like anxiety and PTSD, or maybe even enhance our ability to learn and grow? The music is still being written.